All right, it's time for another episode of the PEBAheads, and we have a very special guest with us this week to do an interview with all things that are going on in Cleveland. And we've been
Tennessee.
wanting we've been wanting to get James on since the name switch, so we'll definitely kind of get into some of that too. But thanks for joining us tonight, James.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
Yeah. Well, I know we've got our standard questions, and I'll let you kick off those, Scott, and then we'll mix in some about the name switch too.
So let's start with where are you located? I think it might be somewhere near me since I've been at a bar drinking with you in the past. Absolutely. I'm out of Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, just a little north of Akron. I'm more Vale than the rest of the Vale clan because I'm married into it.
Yeah.
I Condolences.
Yeah.
chose this life. And then what do you do for a living? So if I remember correctly, you're in some kind of sales for heating and air conditioning?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh, commercial.
Yeah.
I'm an electrical engineer. I That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
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 In data center HVAC controls. So, a lot of overlap. I can talk the talk. I know when I have a contractor out to my house, they start dropping terminology on me. I'm like, I play your game. I'll play your game. I'll step up to the plate. Uh, And you travel a lot for work, right?
uh, it can as projects go into we call it like the deployment phase, right? That's primarily when I travel, but realistically, I can probably travel for 2 months out of the year or something like that. And that's sporadic on and off, couple weeks here, couple weeks there. So it it's really not so bad. It's not like I'm, a road warrior driving across country, living out of a briefcase. So
So, how did you find out of the park baseball? So, like Sean and I have talked with other people. I'm definitely the old guy on this podcast, almost always. And I started with Baseball Mogul
mhm.
like in 1998, and then I found season ticket baseball in a bargain bin at a computer store in like 1999, which is technically out of the park one. And I loved how it was at the time. Baseball Mogul was like the king of computer baseball simulation, but season ticket like took it to another level for me. I think mainly with the defense stuff, and then I was like sold. So I started buying every out of the park version from that point on. So like, what brought you into the computer simulation for baseball?
Well, I didn't grow up having an interest really in baseball because whenever I'd go over to my uncle's house, he'd have on the whatever whoever the Indians were playing. And watching it on TV is different than experiencing it in the stadium. Uh, when I first started dating my wife, she took me to an Indians game, and I was just like, I think I kind of get baseball now. But I still didn't know anything about the stats and everything. And this was what, well, 14, 15 years ago almost now. Um, but I always had kind of an interest of like, oh, I kind of enjoy the deeper dive of the strategy, watching Trevor Bauer talk about pitching on YouTube and like breaking it down. And I had no idea that this was a thing. And then Kevin and Dan have extensive history with it, and I was kind of looking over their shoulder one day of kind of like, oh, what's that? And they explained kind of what it was, and I'm like, oh, so you can play against other like human players, not just. I thought, okay, they're just gonna sim a bunch of stuff with the AI. I was like, okay, not necessarily my cup of tea, but I
Look,
thought I
online league takes it to a whole. Look, I love out of the park, but you're right. I started with just the out of the park baseball, and but when I found the online leagues, you have to admit it takes it to a whole nother level. It's like fantasy baseball on steroids.
oh, and Kevin was pushing me to join, but I told him only on one condition: if I'm gonna be obligated to do exports 3 days a week, then he's got to do Warhammer 40,000 with me. So I put him down that rabbit hole. And I think, if you want to talk about trade parity, I think, uh, in my opinion, I got the better end of the deal out of that. But I think we can both make an argument that we benefited.
That's cool. So, how did you get into PEBA? It was from the Veils, right?
Yeah,
Seeing
so
Kevin.
Kevin told me about the league. I didn't quite feel comfortable just jumping into it, not really knowing anything, but downloading Out of the Park and kind of simulating through like a few seasons kind of gave me like a feel for like, okay, this is kind of how the rules of Major League Baseball work, so I can kind of go from there. I probably started that right around it was like 2020 or 2021, when I didn't have a whole lot else going on. And then I think what has it been like 2020, it must have been 2021 because the couple years after that, I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm ready to like actually test my mettle against against my brothers-in-law. And I think at that point they said there was a vacancy in the SL, but they said that I could either they said Florida is open, and I think this is right around the time that Ken left, uh, and they're like, you can take Florida, but you could also take San Antonio. Do you want to take the number one team in the league and be the villain, or do you want to be the underdog hero? And I'm like, we'll roll some dice.
Dude,
Everybody loves an underdog story.
I 100% respect your decision there because, like, if I had a choice between, Madison and Florida, I would pick Madison every single time because, first off, it's, in total respect to Thad, Sean and I have talked about it. Like, what Thad has done, that's his name, right? I'm not screwing
Yeah.
that up.
No, you got it
What,
right.
what he's done in keeping them on top is respectful. Like, you got to give props to him because I would probably screw that team up, and then I would be the guy that took the best team in the league and destroyed it. But they're keeping it there. There's the satisfaction with that, even though it's just as hard, right? Like, it's not easy to keep that team going, and he does. But do you get as much respect as taking a shit team and bringing it up? No, you don't. So I would feel more satisfaction with the San Antonio route. And you've done it, right? Cleveland's made the playoffs 2 seasons in a row, which is impressive, right? You've got quite the team, and I think you got a very good shot at the playoffs again. And you did that through drafting and I would argue trading, but that's the better route in my opinion, or just the better route for what I like to do.
Well, I ascribe a lot of my philosophy to watching basketball more than anything. My brother and I watched a lot of basketball growing up, and he's a much bigger basketball fan than I am. Uh, but Sam Hinkie, the GM of the Philadelphia 76ers, more or less burned the team to the ground and got fired from his position. And about a season or two after he got fired, the players that he drafted kind of all hit at the same time. And his philosophy was just acquire as much talent as possible, as many draft picks as possible, because eventually somebody's going to work out. So my
Yeah,
philosophy taking over the team of, well, let's take that, not quite to the extreme of like burning the team down, but whatever I'm inheriting as the bottom feeding team in the league, I'm okay parting with. If
yeah.
there's some value I can get out of the guy long term, then coming in here, I'm like, I don't know what anything's worth. So a lot of and a lot of my success, I attribute to, also having multiple people I can trust to kind of like bounce the ideas off of like, okay, like I have a potential trade working out between for these specific players, and I have to give up this, and I run a trade proposal by them like, would you take this trade? Uh, and I've benefited from having Kevin and Dan in my back pocket, but I will say I also try to play them off each other. So it's
So you go to them mostly. So uh, full disclosure, I talked to Sean. I've had multiple trades where I'm like, I think this is a great trade, and I'm like, I'm going to go ask Sean. Now it helps. Does it help you that Kevin and Dan are in a different league? Because it helps me. My wife asked me multiple times. She's like, why are you not so competitive with Sean? Like he's your enemy, right? And I'm like, no, he's in a different league. Like the only chance we're gonna play each other is in the championship series. And I would be thrilled. We almost did it like 2 seasons ago. And I'm like, and she was like, are you nervous about, taking on Sean? And I'm like, no. I hate losing. I've lost the championship twice and I hated it. I would
well,
love to lose it to Sean. Look, it would be all right. No, I wouldn't love it, but it would be way better than the other two losses to lose it to Sean.
well, it helps me out until Kevin trades Zamora to Florida. Now I got to deal with that. So, you know,
So do
reality
you
bites.
is
Everything's a
it
double-edged sword.
so is it just Kevin and Dan that you consult or anybody else?
I run a couple things by Michael from New Jersey.
Yeah, no, I do too.
Uh,
Yeah.
really, I'm still getting to know a few guys. So I know Rob from Palm Springs.
Yeah.
I'll we're willing to make some creative deals happen. Uh, but
No, I totally get it. So when did you join the league? What PEBA season did you enter?
2038 was
Okay.
when I took over. I believe it was right before the 2038 season.
And are you in any other online leagues? Have you ever been in any other online league?
I am not. Like I said, this was a try it out and I'll try out 40K exchange. And really I enjoy playing with you guys. I enjoy competing against you guys. Uh I I I have plenty keeping me busy at home. So, Piva's my happy middle ground of, I get to prune my bonsai tree 3 times a week, if you will.
Well,
So
one thing I've noticed that I respect you a lot for doing when you join the league is that there's times where people join and they get that little taste of success and then they just either go all in or they totally abandon their strategy because they think, well, I have to win now. And you've always been patient enough to build up something that is going to be more sustainable in the future. And it seems like that's the only way that you can really tackle a Florida in your division of just trying to build, like, you got to have, like you said, get as much talent as you possibly can and just keep adding to it.
What I described my philosophy at the beginning to other people was that if I'm going to be at the bottom, right, I'm going to hit the bottom so hard that I'm going to bounce, and we'll see how high that we bounce. Turns out it's pretty high.
Yeah.
yeah, Sean and I have talked about it with others. We call it the T word, right? No one wants to say it, the T word. But being a 500 team for like 10 seasons in a row, and again, remember that's like 5 real years in PEBA. But being a 500 team, and it's easy to get stuck as a 500 team. I've argued it's hard, and people get pissed, and I know I think London got mad at me, but it's hard to lose 100 games. Like you got to try. like, like I've lost 90 games and said, well, I thought I was going to win that year, but I haven't lost 100 games, and I've lost 100 games before, more than once. Look it up. You got to try. But winning 95 games, winning 90 games, that's
Winning
hard
90
too.
games is hard.
It's hard. Like that 80, 80 game win mark, you can do that without even blinking an eye, right? Like getting to that next step is really, really hard. So you're almost, it's almost like you're derelict in your duties if you're stuck at 500 for 10 seasons, right? Like do one or the other. Like either get bad. Again, we've talked about the Hitmen. Their turnaround was spectacular. Like, did he win Manager of the Year? Because he should have, right? Did he,
No, Ty's won.
Tice? Look, I think what the Hitmen did in going from a shit team to a playoff contender was phenomenal. And sure, there's luck. D'Antonio, right? I get it, but he was winning before D'Antonio got there. Like he was doing it with Bill Brooks. He was doing it with the guys that he brought up. That he knew how to time it. And we talked about it on previous podcasts with Lenny and Michael. It's a timing thing a lot of the times when you're doing I've done rebuilds, I've done teardowns and rebuilds, and it's a timing thing. Like if you got guys that come up too soon and guys that aren't developed enough, it can trash your plan because people become too expensive. They become free agent eligible. Like there's a whole host of roadblocks that prevent you from winning. And the Hitmen made it work. And I totally respect how they did it. It's easy. It's easy to be a 500 team. It's hard to lose 100 games, and it's really hard to win 90. So my argument has always been like pick it. Like don't be like I don't want to be a 500 team for 10 seasons in a row. I think it's terrible. I want to either make the playoffs. And again, look, James, you're in a division with Florida. So like, you know, we looked at the preseason predictions in game, which I think are better than the stats lab ones. But you're predicted to make the playoffs again for a third season in a row. Congrats if that happens, and I think it probably will.
I hope so if the injury bug doesn't catch up to
Yeah,
me.
well, that's true. Like look, injuries and game version, anomalies are always a wild card. But when you look at your team, it's well built. Like you've got a lot of good players, and I think you should be a wild card team. Do I think you could beat Florida for the division? You could. Do I think you will? Probably not. Florida's just a monster. You just unfortunately, I'd rather be in. Look, my division's got more than one good team, but your division's got a juggernaut. you know, so it's going
What
to be. Go
first
ahead.
season that we made the playoffs, we took Florida to 11 innings of Game 7, lost to a walk-off
Right.
homer from Knob. Season 2 of the playoffs, we were up 2-0 on Florida. So is it likely that we beat Florida? No, but I think for the sake of the story, like we're right where we need to be in order to just keep chipping away at it. And that's what to your point, it's hard to win 90 games. It's hard to find that tipping point that tips the scales in your favor. And I think that's why I traded so much early on was like I'm always looking for that next piece to add, right? But now I'm in a position where trading somebody away probably won't benefit me unless I really do the deeper dive into the math of everything. Where before it was like, okay, just what kind of draft capital can I get? What kind of additional pieces can I get that for at least the first couple of seasons I didn't necessarily have to worry about winning because that wasn't my plan anyway. Like obviously you don't like to lose, we'll win as many games as possible, but uh there are considerations, especially with the way that the draft was structured of what players are going to be available, uh, what kind of draft capital do I have, and is that all going to fit the same, like you were saying, is that all going to fit the same window? So all these guys are developed and hitting at the same time, so I don't have to go. San Antonio is a relatively small market team, compared to the rest of the teams in PEBA. So I didn't have a whole lot of extra capital to spend. Fan loyalty was, I think, or fan interest was like 66. Like we can't put butts in seats. So, uh, if you don't have the money, the only way that you can really add talent is either trading or the draft. So, uh, now that I'm getting to the point where like our window is open, uh, the next
Clearly
evolution is
open. Yeah.
the window's open, so who can I pursue in free agency that would make sense? Like, what good signings can I make that aren't going to be, breaking the bank? I'm a huge fan of uh, decreasing contracts, so I'm willing to pay a guy more in my window and have them get cheaper over time. In the event that I do need to move them, it becomes a lot easier, and then you can recycle that. And my hope is, and we'll see if I'm right over the next like 3 or 4 seasons, is that I can recycle that and stay in the same position I'm at, similar to what Florida is doing. So,
Well, I
So
think you mentioned something earlier I wanted to touch on because I think too many people, I'll do this in two phases because there's two things. One being you're not focused on beating Florida in 162. You're focused on beating Florida in 7 games because that's all it really, as long as you make the playoffs, you got to figure out how you beat them in 7 games. And I think too many people oftentimes just focus too much on, I got to win the division or I got to do this during the regular season. It's like, you just got to get in the playoffs. Then, you got to be able to exploit matchups. You got to be able to attack these teams in ways in a 7 game series. And it doesn't matter what the long haul 162 looks like.
well, in football terms, like winning the national championship is great, but me against Florida is like Ohio State versus Michigan. Uh, if we can come out on top and beat Big Brother, then I'll take it. Uh,
Yep.
Not
Well,
likely to happen with the strength of their system, but that's always the hope. And with the kind of series that we've had in the playoffs with them, I have no reason to believe that they're not beatable. It's just, do I have the depth to go 7 games?
yeah. Well, in your division too, like when you first started, I think you really basically had Florida and maybe Kentucky at the time as the teams that were trying to compete, and then Charleston was starting to getting ready to try to compete. But now it's like you look at your whole entire division, and Kentucky's probably the only one that's really not that doesn't feel like they have a chance probably to make the playoffs. Like you've got New Orleans that didn't make the playoffs last year, but made them the playoffs the year before that. Charleston's been in pretty regularly, so it's going to be a battle in that division. But it's still, yeah, it's crazy when you look at Florida's lineup. But yeah, those other teams too that you're going to be going against are pretty good too.
Well, and I had a weak couple of weeks at the end of last season where, had I lost one more game, I think New Orleans might have been going instead of me. And that's a combination of, injuries and trying to rotate people around and kind of figure out how to save what depth I have for, a potential playoff run. Fortunately, it swung in our favor, but I think that Charleston and New Orleans, like, you can't write them off. Like, no matter what the preseason predictions might say about it being between me and Florida, like Chuck and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the Charleston's GM's
I
name
do
right.
it. I do it too. You'll sit there like you think you remember who the person is, and then
there's a lot of names to remember. Let's face it.
Uh,
I'll look it up just so I get it right because I
I,
don't want
I
so
apologize in advance, but
Jason.
that,
Jason.
yeah, Jason.
James, so James, like I was looking at your draft and I was looking at over the team, and you know, you said you came in 38. So Johnny Arthur was drafted in 36, not your draft, and then Barklaw and Huffman in 37. But in 38, Hancock, Kobayashi, Madison, Walker, 39, Martinez, Lewinberg, Escobedo, 40, Dahlman, Quan, Rodriguez, and 41, Gonzalez.
Yeah, that
Uh,
Dolman guy.
yeah, Mateo and Hill. Like that's you had your team, and again from 38 on. So Johnny Arthur and Barklaw are two of the best pitchers in the league, and they were drafted before you, but you've had a fantastic run. I pride myself on my drafting. Like it's something I do with a lot of thought and effort. And uh, if you go to the Stats Lab page, when they look at WAR for drafts, I have a pretty good record there because I think the main reason why it's skewed a little bit because I don't trade much. So, you know, the draft picks that I make in those early rounds tend to be on my team and earning WAR for me. So it's skewed a little bit, but you've got to rival me at least in the draft, but you trade a lot. I'm looking so like your ace Yamaguchi free agent signing, spectacular player. Like kudos for that one, right?
Well, I traded. It was a sign and trade
Oh, was it? So
with
you
Palm Springs.
so you traded for him first and then you signed him. Okay. And then Dahlman, you know, pretty good hitter, a really good starting pitcher, right? You've got Takuchi, that second baseman who's just off the charts. That was a trade, I believe.
That was a trade, so that's what I gave up Johnny Arthur for.
Yeah,
Uh,
so I was
that
looking at the
blockbuster deal.
trades. So the Arthur trade looked like a pretty decent, not great, but a pretty decent trade for you. But the Barclaw and then uh, you know, some of these trades with the Avas, I'm looking at them and I'm like, some of them didn't age well. Like, do you think the Avas would have? They've got 4 out of 6. They've been to the championship game, I think, 6 times, and they got 4 championships. Do you think they like? I was looking at their number 1, 2, and 3 hitters are Cleveland draftees. Their first, second, and third starter in their rotation are Cleveland draftees. Like, how many championships would you have if you didn't make those trades with the Avas?
I mean, hard to say because when I traded them away, you trade a 2.5, 3-star, 22-year-old like Barclaw was for me. Uh, you trade him away and he balloons into a 4.5-star guy. It's hard to say, and we're all working with incomplete information, right? So maybe Kevin knows something that I don't, and my scout's just not giving it to me. That happens.
It does, but Kevin's like the Avas, their center fielder, first baseman, left fielder, right fielder, and a left-handed relief pitcher, and their 1 through 3 starting pitchers all came from your team. Now I get it. Like I've got favorite trade partners. I like to trade with Sean, but I tend to trade. I probably trade the most with the Hitmen, but it's comfortable. Like like I've heard people who have said, I'm not going to name names, I won't trade with the Veils. And then I look at Kevin and Dan and I'm like, yeah, like early on, I could see where they were pretty, what I describe them as aggressive traders. They are clear. Like there was a back and forth in Discord. I don't think it was Slack. I think it was Discord, the Discord era. And I think it was Dan, but it was probably Kevin. I think it was Kevin. I can't remember. Sometimes I confuse him. And it was like, lots of trades, you like to trade. Like I think it was Kevin, because you look at his team, and much like your team, like there's like a massive, I have a 26-man roster. You could see like 18 trades. And you look at my team, we did this once, like, what was it, 2, 3 years ago? We did this, Sean, with
Yeah.
Michael from the Hitmen and Lenny from Bakersfield, and we would go over our teams, and like the overwhelming majority of my team at the time was free agent and draft picks and international free agent. Like there was like like out of 26, I think at the time, there was like 2 trades out of 26 guys. You look at both Vales, and their teams are heavily trade. You look at your team. I think I looked at Kevin's earlier today, the Avas, and it was like overwhelmingly trades. And your team's pretty heavily trade too. Now I get it because a lot of people get into this stuff because that's the sexy, that's the hit, that's the drug. Like I love the trade. I want to win the trade. I want to get this guy. I'm gonna get. But for like at the time we discussed it, for me it was draft and develop, which is so boring for a lot of people. You draft extremely well, but you don't seem to have the follow through to like wait for those guys. You want to get it. It's almost like you want to get that quick hit now. You want to trade that potential for something that'll give you it now. Am I misreading you?
I feel like, if my window is open, you know, why not kick in the door? Uh,
Fair, yeah.
yeah, I have like I think I have kind of pulled back from, my hyper aggressive trading days of old, a bit, a bit. Uh, it's easy when, you can walk into a family gathering and, your brothers-in-law have a trade proposal cooked up for you
In person,
that,
right? Like
that,
in
that you
real
can
time.
that you can flatly reject outright and try to hash out the details later. But uh, a lot of it just comes down to I think rapport. Uh, I have their sister hostage, so if they wrong me too much on the PEBA front, uh, nah, I'm kidding, obviously.
I took it as a joke. Hopefully your wife's not watching.
And she's got her headphones on, it's fine.
Well, I think it's like there's another side to this too that I think it was Kevin brought up where he said like there was discussion about trading and I think he made just a blunt statement of people need to trade more.
Yeah, that
And
it was me. It was I made a comment about something and he said trade more. And I would admit, like I like both Kevin and Dan. Like they're dear to me. You know, I, I met you guys, all three of you guys in person, and it it upset me a little bit in that like, okay, well, like really, like have you guys? Sean and I have talked about it, so I'm going to ask you, James. Have you heard of the term Pareto's improvement?
I sounds familiar.
So it's a philosophical term that I came across reading an article. So again, it's just I've got a high school education, but I read this article and the guy in the article was talking about Pareto's improvement, and I went and looked it up. And Pareto's improvement is a philosophy that says when you're when you're interacting or trading with another partner, another entity, you want to get a situation where you improve yourself without harming the other person. So I think about this a lot. I also read a book called The Power of Nice by Mark Shapiro's dad. He was James. You should know. He was the GM of the Cleveland Indians for forever, and now he's the Toronto GM or executive president or whatever it is.
yeah, whatever
His
the newfangled term is.
Yeah, his dad was an agent for Eddie Murray and Cal Ripken and a bunch of people. And his dad wrote a book as an agent about the power of nice. And it sounds like a weird title, but it's a book about negotiations. And I bought it because I was doing a lot of contract negotiations for my employment. And I did like something like 100 different contract negotiations. And the key that I liked about the book is that I kept dealing with the same people. Like, it's not like an arrangement where you're negotiating with somebody and then they're gone forever. My situation was I had to negotiate with the same people over and over and over again every few years for like decades. So if we negotiate a contract where I win everything and you lose everything, I'm screwed the next time. Like we're going to come back a few years later and it's like okay, dick, I'm not dealing with you. So you had to develop. It was I think his name's Ron Shapiro. It was about relationship building more than it wasn't art of the deal. Like it wasn't get as much as you can. It was like build a relationship. So anybody who's ever traded with me in PEBA would say Yeah, I can see that because Pareto's improvement is I want to get something, but I don't want you to lose everything.
Hmm.
And early on, I felt like that wasn't the case. And I've had people who have told me that they felt like the Veils were all about like they needed to win that thing. Like they needed everything from you and they needed to give you nothing from them. But that's not been my experience. Like this last deal with Dan for Don Washington,
Hmm.
he got what he wanted. I got what I wanted. Everything was great, right? So I enjoyed the trade. I had no problem, despite my persona as being the non-trade guy. It worked out well for both of us, I thought. Although Washington's hurt now, I would say I would warn you, Washington might have an injury problem. But the question for you is: are there any trades that you've done that you regretted? Do you and you think you made like are you like you were a prolific trader and you a lot of your roster it's not quite Ava level, but a lot of your roster is trade built. Have you changed your philosophy at all? Are you looking more towards draft and develop? I that's my preferred, or are you want to keep your options wide open?
I lean toward the philosophy of keeping my options open a bit. However, I've kind of evolved from the everything is for sale, give me whatever you're willing to offer. I put Gonzalez on the trade block, but after talking to a few people, letting the offers come in, uh, I realized he's probably doing better, even if it, and you look at his personality traits, even if this guy is an ass. He's doing well. He had kind of a down stretch in the middle of last season, but he rebounded very well. Uh, we'll let it ride. We'll see where he turns out because he's not an expensive contract. He's a good starting pitcher. So I'm not in a rush to make a deal as I was last time. I'm trying to put pieces around my son in game with the hope of, let's win my kid a championship.
Henry Dolman,
Yep. Hank the Tank.
the two-way player.
Well, before we get into Henry, because I want to get into how that whole process, how you went through that, and like just so other people understand how they can also do that type of thing. I think, being comfortable with people goes a long way to not just the deal you're working on, but future deals. And then the other side of it is some people will get mad about this, but I think a lot of people in our league are cheap. And when you find people that are willing to pay what a fair price is and then have exactly what you're also looking for, you kind of keep going back to that well too. So, I mean, I've always had I thought fair discussions and trades with you, whether or not we came to a deal or not, and with Dan and Kevin. And I think a lot of it is just sometimes, you know, I've seen people that, they'll come out with just a terrible offer to begin with, and then you're just like, no, I don't even want to talk to you anymore. But the times I've had that with like Dan or Kevin, they might come out with like they're not going to come out with their best offer first, but if you're willing to talk to them a little bit, you can kind of, figure out what each other needs and then kind of get to something that makes sense for both teams. So I think that's been my experience of just, I think people sometimes quickly jump to the nope, I'm done thing without just like realizing, nope, a lot of people aren't going to come in with their best offer right away unless they
Well,
really, really want something.
I've done that. Like so in my other league, I'm in two leagues now. The other league that I'm in, I've been in since the year 2000. So that's a long time. My kid was in the womb. My oldest son was in the womb when I joined this league. And a season or two ago, I had a guy send me an offer, and I'm like, no, and he's like, you're not going to counter? I'm like, I'm not going to counter because your offer was so bad that my counter would be a bag of shit, or like and he was like, he was offended, and I'm like, dude, I can't counter this. Like, I'm the type of guy, you got to be in the ballpark, right? Like Sean said, you don't give me your best offer, fine, but give me a decent one. Like
Yeah, give me something that gives me a little bit
I,
of interest.
I can't operate on. I want your best player and your second best player, and I will give you a 1-star prospect in rookie league. No, no, I can't do that. And you're not going to counter? No, screw you. I'm not going to counter. I'll counter a decent deal, And again, with respect to PEBA, I have not had a terrible offer in multiple seasons. Again, I joined in 2010 of in game. I think that was 2008 in real life. I can't remember, but it was 2010 in game. I received some pretty bad offers early on, but the last, 10 seasons, so 5 real years, I haven't received a terrible offer in PEBA in any of that time. So I usually counter, right? Or tell them, yeah, this guy's not really on the block. I've had people ask about players that aren't on the block. And sometimes, there's guys you're like, hey, you know, he's just not on the block. And they're
And
like,
I think
well,
it never hurts to ask whether you're,
yeah,
whether you have an offer. Uh,
I'm not offended by it. Like, okay, you know, I don't typically ask for players that aren't on the block, but it's a personality thing with me. You know, I am not, you know, I'm not one of these super aggressive guys who's going to go out there and say, Sean and I talked about the Washington thing. And I mentioned to Sean that I'm like, I think I really want to move Don Washington. And he's like, oh, why? I'm like, I got a problem with his injury issue and that he can't really play center field very well. And that I've got too many corner outfielders and I have too many DH types. And I need to move somebody. And he's like, you need to be aggressive and you need to go out there and shop them. I'm like, I am not a salesman. I worked my whole life as a fireman paramedic. I don't sell shit. I come out and put out your fires and take you to the hospital. I'm a crisis manager. I'm not a salesman. And he's like, well, you're going to have to be a salesman if you're going to get. So posted him on the block and I didn't push it. I will tell you this. I did a minor salesman with Arai, my first baseman. I had an issue where I looked at my park and I'm like, my stadium it crushes left-handed pitching or left-handed hitting. It crushes it. And I'm like, I got a left-handed power, it crushes too. And I'm like, I need to get more right-handed. I'm too left-handed. So I put Arai out there and I'm like, he's a 9 power against right-handed pitching. Like that was my sales pitch. Like that's like I am the salesman of the year to say he's a 9 power against right-handed pitching. And it worked. But that's about as salesman as I get.
well, even with early on, with some of my trades, it came down to, I'm not really like, I think we have something here, but I'm not liking the pick disparity of, the Avas are picking at the bottom of the order. So if I'm going to give up some capital, it might be, hey, instead of me trading away a first round pick, why don't we flip? If I'm going to be at the front, flip the pick. So I pick at the end of the first round, then I'm still in the first round. Because first round picks are extremely valuable, regardless of if they're at the top or the bottom. I think lately in PEBA, it seems like the top five draftees of any draft class are the guys that are instantly going to make a franchise player. Uh, and I mean, everything's randomized, right? But I think that, it's more important if you have those top five picks. You're probably not going to see a lot of movement out of that. So kind of knowing what you have too, like where you're going to be at the end of the season, kind of keeping that in mind of like, where am I at in the process of if I'm doing a rebuild, if I'm going from 40 wins trying to go to 90 wins, where am I at in terms of the wave? And
Yeah.
if the wave can hit the majors all at the same time, it's trying to, not see it's trying to see the forest for the trees, so to speak.
Yeah.
Not trying to take everything that comes your way, but also not trying to be like, no, I'm not gonna, I want to hold on to my guys necessarily because do I regret any trades that I've made in the past? Looking at some of the players and what they turned into, I would have had no idea. I like the Barraclaw example. I traded him when he was a 2.5, 3-star guy. He wound up being, a 4-star starter for my brother-in-law. I think out of that I got Wendell Guiney, who went to Crystal Lake.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that's even
Uh,
worse. That dude's a
but
monster.
but everything I've collected has
What did you get? I didn't look at that one. What did you get
I
for him?
I need to do a deeper dive because there needs to be a stolen base episode on
He is a
the
monster.
tree
I
from
love that dude.
2038.
No, that
Uh
is kind of cool. Like, if you do go back and just build it like in Excel or whatever, and start looking at the different trees of players and what you traded for, like it is very interesting to start going
It
through that.
is, and there's again prolific traders, and again, I don't use that term as a pejorative, but there are, you're James, you're one of them. You both your brother-in-laws are prolific traders. I'm a more reluctant trader. Sean's probably more middle of the road, but there's a scale of how many, what kind of GMs, I tend to prefer to draft and develop them. I just get more enjoyment out of it, right? Like if I trade for a guy that performs well, I feel decent about it. But if I drafted him and developed him, like there's something like I get more enjoyment out of it. Like it's like that I did that. Like I didn't fleece some guy. And again, I don't mean that pejoratively because it can be random, right? Like you said with Barkla, it can be somebody who just happens to produce, to just rocket up the scales, but it just looks like a fleecing in hindsight. You know what I mean?
yeah. So with that, looking at what they turned into, like maybe I'd have won already, but I'm here
I
now.
think if you had those three
Um
starters,
I don't think you can. I don't think you can really spend too much time. Like, you learn from it, but at the same time, it's like, what do you really learn when it's a 2.5-star guy that
yeah,
blossomed?
if
Like,
it's a luck factor, it's just luck. It's just good luck and bad luck.
I think
Again,
the
I
thing
look
you
at
learn is just like keep getting as many good players as you possibly can, and just keep whatever way that you can do that, whether that's through the draft or trade opportunities or Rule 5 or waiver
well,
claims, like whatever it is. Like,
that's a very good point, and I would tell the GMs in our league the draft has changed. It's not what it used to be. In that, yes, as Sean and I have mentioned more and more times than you can count, the upper part of the draft has more guarantee hits than it used to, in that the actuals and the potential are closer than they've ever been. However, there are players at the 15th and 16th round that pop that you would never guess. One of my best prospects right now is a player who was like a 15th round draft pick that was auto draft by StatsLab. Auto draft. I didn't pick him. So I think there are more of those. So there's a quantity versus quality issue too, in that like there was a recent draft or recent trade that was rejected by the board where I think Okinawa and Yuma were
yeah,
going to swap out first to second, and then the second was going to get like a huge number, or the I think Yuma was going to get like a large number of draft picks, and the board rejected it, which I've got issues with. But uh, I think volume is not something we should sleep on as GMs, because there can be, like, you could have 15th round draft picks that become superstars. That that didn't happen 10 seasons ago. I had a podcast episode where we talked about the lowest draft pick who was on any team's roster, and it was a fifth round guy, and he sucked. You're going to see 15th, 16th, 17th round picks who are going to be huge producers. That didn't happen 10 seasons ago. It didn't happen 6 seasons ago. It's going to happen.
Well, I think that was part of my philosophy early on was, borrowing from Sam Hinkie's philosophy of just acquire as many picks as possible because eventually one of those guys is going to hit. Uh,
Shotgun. The shotgun.
when you're at the bottom of the league, you pull out the stops and you try everything. And taking inspiration from that, that's kind of what my philosophy around uh, maybe some of the early trade decisions that I made, trading away Barclaw, trading away Luau, trading away Chris Brown, uh, a few of those names that, are now retired. Uh, but if I had talent and somebody else could benefit from it and I got a draft pick out of it, it's hard to say no in that position.
Well, let's
So
transition over quick to the whole process that you went through for converting a player to your son. Because not only did you go through this process, you were able to find a player that can actually be a two-way player, which is very rare in our league to begin with. So,
Uh,
how did that whole thing go down?
So admittedly, that was Kevin and Dan came up with an idea. They trapped me, and so like, we made Henry in the league, and we're gonna try to draft him. And I was like, well, okay. They're like, you could take over San Antonio and for sure be high up enough to draft him if you wanted to. Uh, I got a little bit more out of it with the adding the tabletop wargaming in. Uh, but I was like, okay, I'll humor you. We'll try to get my son a championship. Uh, in the future, uh, we Dan and I had picked out a player for my second son, who's probably going to be available at some point in the near future, uh, as a
I think
college player coming out. So,
I think we checked. So right now we have three in the league, so we'll have a fourth one then, you're saying. Because we got
correct.
Elias, Thomas,
And Henry,
Layla. No, and then Henry, so we'll have five.
five. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'll have AJ Dahlman working his way up through the collegiate ranks pretty soon. Uh, and I'm probably gonna have to give up some capital to get him, but uh, it's all for the family.
All right. And the last topic we wanted to discuss was just the change from San Antonio to Cleveland, what went into the that
Tennessee.
process, and yeah, Cleveland, Tennessee is very important because we can't have major league towns, but we are the major leagues, I guess. There is no major
Merchandising,
baseball.
baby,
Yeah,
merchandising
but
at
like
the
there, yeah. Well, like what went into the cryptid name, and tell us more about that process because it doesn't happen too often.
I had mulled over keeping the team in San Antonio and just kind of doing a rebrand. Uh, but I felt like given the previous history of the team and the god awful logo, uh, uh,
Mud flaps.
yeah, mud flaps. I think at one point when we were on Slack, I changed my profile picture to like a calzone, like the pastry.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
And I got a stern talking to from Mike about that. I'm like, I don't know what it is. To me, that's a calzone, but neither here nor there. Uh, but I felt like if I'm taking over this team and we have this legacy of being at the bottom of the league, like I'm gonna steer us out of this thing, and that usually requires a shedding skin.
Yeah.
And I was kind of playing around with some ideas of like where am I going to move the team, and I just thought on a whim while I was at work, I'm like, I wonder if there are any other Clevelands. Because you hear about like, okay, we got a London, Ohio. We got
So you're not a country music fan.
I listen to a bit of country. Uh
Not enough, because we both, James, we both live in the Cleveland area, and I know about Cleveland, Tennessee because of a guy named Kenny Chesney. He's got an extremely famous song that my wife is like, I'm not a I used to hate country music. I don't hate it anymore because my wife loves it. So I can't hate something my wife loves. But I listen to it because my wife loves it. And he's got a famous song about Cleveland, Tennessee. And the first time I heard it, I'm like, really? Like this was had to be. We have to look up when it came out, but it was a long time ago. And I'm like, there's a Cleveland, Tennessee. I'm like, really? And I looked it up, and yep, there's a Cleveland, Tennessee.
I think there are four Clevelands, one of which, I mean, obviously being the city that we attach our lives to.
Where are
But I
the
think there
others?
are four in
Okay,
total.
do you know? I have no idea what the other. I know about Cleveland, Ohio, obviously, and Tennessee. Where are the others? Do you know?
I think one was in like Arkansas, I want to say.
There's a
I'm gonna
Cleveland,
Google this.
Arkansas. That's crazy.
Let's just look
Yeah,
at
yeah.
maps.
I'm looking it up. You're making me look it up too.
But Cleveland, Tennessee, I felt had a I enjoy the state of Tennessee. Been down there once or twice. Never been to Chattanooga, admittedly, around that area. Uh, but more or less, I was just like, hey, you know what'd be cool is uh, being from Cleveland, and the name gave me some ideas to work with as well too. And because it was like Cleveland, Tennessee, I'm like, okay, well, we got the the Appalachian Mountains, and the Blue Ridge Mountains, and the forest and everything around the area. And I thought, what would be better than cryptids? I mean, it's kind of you talk about like West Virginia, Tennessee, the Western Carolinas. It's all, Mothman, uh, Bigfoot, everything, and then down to the ballpark name of like Roger Patterson Memorial Park. It's got to be if we're going with Bigfoot for the logo, it's got to be based off the guy that filmed the Patterson footage. It all kind of just clicked where I had mulled over like keeping them in Texas and doing like the whole Rough Riders thing. Only
Yeah,
to
there's
find
a
out there's
Cleveland,
also
Texas. There's a Cleveland, Mississippi. There's a Cleveland, Oklahoma. There's a Cleveland, Georgia,
even
and a
more than I
Cleveland,
thought.
Tennessee.
Uh, but Cleveland, Tennessee, being near Chattanooga, I thought, well, that seems like a good fit. And the name kind of just clicked into place like right after I picked the location. So now I get to be as enigmatic on the articles as my team name is.
Yeah,
So are,
Can I call you Bigfoot from now
Sure,
on?
sure.
Sure,
Buy
sure.
me buy me a beer. You can call me Bigfoot.
are we going to be able to see alternate logos with other different cryptids with baseball type like poses and stuff?
I debated moving the minor league teams around or doing some rebranding with that. You might see the Calzones of Laredo come back as a
That would be
triple A
cool.
team.
Nice.
Uh,
I like that. Yeah, that'd
uh,
be great.
I the, you're
What,
hearing
what, what,
the inner workings of my mind. I've mulled over moving the Joplin Red Racers to Laredo, Texas.
but
Uh,
but but make the logo a calzone, a
Oh yeah,
pizza
oh yeah. We're
calzone.
not going back to the trucker logo.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, you gotta have a pizza calzone.
no disrespect to Trucker Mike, but I mean, if you're going to try to be taken seriously as a baseball franchise,
So the guy who ran that team, I like he was the first guy to reach out to me. So I joined the league in game 2010, and he was like Sean. He was this like extrovert, and he just like they called him Trader Matt. His name was Matt,
Matt, that's it.
and he liked to trade, and they called him Trader Matt. And he just reached out to me one time, in a private message. This was pre Discord, definitely pre Slack, and it was in the forums. And he's like, "Hey man, what do you think about your team?" And I'm like at least like a dude's just random. Like we chatted back and forth for multiple sessions where he just wanted to know like how did I like my team? What did I think my like he wasn't like a predatory trader thing where he's like, oh, give me your
Yeah.
best play. He's like, just hey, how you doing? What do you think about your team? And I'm like, this dude's pretty cool. I love the dude. His name was Trader Matt, and he was definitely a prolific trader. But I loved him because he wasn't aggressive. He didn't like try to do it. He just wanted to know about what I thought about my team. And that is so comforting, right? Like it just feels so good because you love your team, you're building your team, and you got a guy in the league who wants to know what you think about it.
Well, that's the whole backbone of forming these trade relationships is you have to get to know the person and build some rapport with them.
Right.
Uh, if you're just reaching out and just here's an offer, uh, you know, better come with a good offer, if that's what you're going to open
Right.
up with. But if a simple of like, hey, how you doing? Like, but no,
And
really,
that's what
how
it
you doing?
was. It was great. I still have fond memories of the guy.
Well,
He seems like he was
yeah.
a good guy, just terrible taste in logos. I'm just going to throw that
Yeah,
out.
he was a trucker. I remember he was a long haul trucker, and he would like drive his truck and then pull over and then like do PEBA stuff, and then he would just start driving again, and then he would pull over and do PEBA stuff. And he would tell me about it. He was a great dude. I liked him. I miss Trader Matt. I I don't want him to have your team. I like you having your team, but I miss Trader Matt. He was a cool dude.
Well, and I think that's what's great about what we do, and then just the discussions in Discord too, whether it's in one of the channels or the private messages, but you get a sense of how people really are and a face with the name and get to see people's personality a little bit differently than just through text. And that's why I appreciate thank you, James, for being on us, and we'll definitely have you on again soon.
So
Hopefully
real
it'll
quick,
oh yeah, what do you got?
yeah, real quick before you end. So the only reason why I've done these things is because of the veils, right? Like I met Kevin at a bar a few years ago, and he gave me some gifts. One of them was this hat and a coffee mug, and the the members of this league, pooled resources, and gave money because I was going through a rough patch with my work, and I think it was either pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID, but there's a lot of Zoom stuff, and I'm like, wouldn't it be cool to like utilize this Zoom platform for like the basic because like I like interactions. I don't like social media. I'm not a social media guy. I don't like Discord that much. I didn't like Slack that much. It's not, I just I like seeing someone and talking to someone. I don't like texting them. There's so much about the texting and the written part that can get confused. And every time that I've had a problem with someone in this league, it's because of the medium. It's because that I'm not talking to them. I'm communicating through written word, and it can be confused.
I play a heel online. I promise I'm not a heel
Yeah,
in real.
you did. Yeah, so like
People don't understand kayfabe.
yeah, so you have not offended me, but there have been others who have offended. But it's probably because of the medium. It's not because of me or them. Like I like this platform. I like we just seem to gel better. I'd rather see a dude in person and have a conversation. James, you and I have been in the same bar together and had a conversation, and it was wonderful, right?
Yeah.
We might have an interaction online that I don't like. I think it's mostly because the medium, and I love this much better, and I just feel like we should do more of it. And again, I know, there's a lot of discussion about what's the best way. I am so grateful to Kevin for that first meeting and my discussion with him, because the only reason why I'm doing this is because of that meeting. So I just want to say that.
Well, I think with the Discord platform now, it opens up a lot of other possibilities to do
Yeah, I love
this.
those. Yeah, they're there. We just don't utilize them.
I, I think having the ability to do like live winter meetings, hop in a room, stuff like that, there's so much more potential now than there was trying to organize stuff through Slack and, use four different platforms. I'm a big fan of podcasts for that exact reason of, putting a couple of guys in a room, uh, specifically for the reason of just let's just talk baseball. Uh, but I also think that people need to keep in mind like as much as we kind of egg each other on Discord, like this is simulated baseball, guys. We put a lot into it. I've gotten mad about
It's
it
a
before, but
game.
I always have to bring myself
Right.
around of just like, all right, it's simulated baseball. Like the real important stuff is like, can I walk into a bar, sit down with these guys and have a beer and everything's gonna be okay. And that's why I love PEBA, because I don't think I've met a person here that I wouldn't have a beer with. I might have to
Amen.
get Justin to give me 3 draft picks and buy me a beer in exchange for some pocket lint, but uh
But we'd still
but we
have a
still
beer
have a
with
beer with
Justin.
Justin. Absolutely.
Well, it sounds like he's going to be going on an East Coast tour, so it won't be in the Cleveland area, but maybe one of his jobs will take him through your guys' area.
I look forward to it if he winds up over here.
That's right. Justin, let us know. Me and James will meet you.
And with my work taking me out wherever, uh,
Yeah,
I
you might
actually,
be in Colorado sometime. I mean,
uh, ironically enough, that might be one of the locations I go out to. So if you're around the Denver area, let me know.
I'll say with all the Rockies, I think he just said that he was in the Rocky Stadium for his job recently. That was one of the pictures he showed. So that'd be cool if he could meet up with him.
Unless I get banished to like Des Moines, Iowa. But,
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. It was great, and we'll be talking to your brother-in-law soon. He's next on the list. So
oh boy,
Yep.
what
Oh, we're
wonder
looking
what he
forward
has to
to
say about the hostage situation.
I
Well,
think
thanks for
we're
having me
gonna
on,
we're
guys.
gonna hold
I
off
really
on
appreciate the opportunity.
yeah. I think we're gonna hold off on posting it so he doesn't even hear it, so that he won't even know.
Hey,
Yeah, you'll have to tell him all about it. We're gonna wait
uh,
until we're gonna post them back to back.
ooh, a two-parter.
Yep.
Yeah,
Double release on the same day. Here's three
yeah.
hours of material.
Poor Dan. He'll be like, "Why am I not included in this?"
I'll get Dan to sit
Yeah,
down.
let's do Dan next. Get Dan next. We'll do a three-parter.
Well, I'm sure
One
he'll
one of
be.
these days you have to have the three of us on all at the same time. It'll be a riot.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Thanks,
All right, we'll
All
guys.
right,
see you.
Really appreciate it.
Yep.
take care.
Bye.
From the lakes of Duluth to Havana's warm breeze, Reno's desert lights glow where the crowd's ever free. Shinsaki's wars with the bats held high. Yuma sandlot dreams touch the wide open sky. Palm Springs breathes the heat where the sun always shines. 32 teams united, crossing every line. From the dirt to the diamond, we're chasing the call. The roar of the fans, yeah, we're giving our all. From the dirt to the diamond, we're chasing the call. The roar of the fans, yeah, we're giving our all. Swing for the stars in the PEBA game. Global fire, every city's aflame. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the fight. Planetary extreme, we're igniting the night. Oh, 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 PEBA's the name. PEBA's the name. Oh, 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 we're changing the game. Scottish pipers cheer as the bases are run. New Orleans rhythm swings till the battle is won. Tempe's rolling the dice with the fastball surprise. Toyota's precision lights up in our eyes. Now machines are strong where the dust meets the tree. Florida's golden fields where the champions gleam. From the dirt to the diamond, we're chasing the call. The roar of the fans, yeah, we're giving our all. From the dirt to the diamond, we're chasing the call. The roar of the fans, yeah, we're giving our all. Swing for the stars in the PEBA game. Global fire, every city's aflame. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the fight. Planetary extreme, we're igniting the night. Oh, 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 PEBA's the name. PEBA's the name. Oh, 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 we're changing the game. 32 dreams, one world, one fight. From dusk till dawn, we're burning so bright. Every pitch, every hit, every play in the zone. The Planetary Baseball Alliance, we're never alone. From the fields to the stands, hear the planet unite. PEBA's the spark and we're taking flight. Swing for the stars in the PEBA game. Global fire, every city's aflame. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the fight. Planetary extreme, we're igniting the night. Oh, 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 PEBA's the name. PEBA's the name. Oh, 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 we're changing the game. So raise up your gloves, let the banners fly high. From San Juan to Kalamazoo, we're reaching the sky. Planetary Extreme Baseball Alliance, where the legends are born. Swing for the stars, let the world hear our roar.